register with the GP there, if they're lucky, then it's 2 weeks to get an appointment. Currently, the only source they have is go to A&E, and the waiting list of 4 hours to get to see a doctor. Now, I don't know if this is part of the trend that is happening, but it does beg the question, how will this impact on the poor of the community, the people at risk, pensioners, people who are not earning money? Because if they can't get the services, the pressure is, oh, go private. And people haven't got the money. So what is the future for the poor of this country? Because it sounds terrible.
Yes, it is. Well, it's a standard part of privatisation to wreck the public service, usually by starving it of its budget for quite some years prior to the privatisation. So we've seen actually a fast decline since 2010 in this country because it suited the city's narrative to have Labour as the champions of the NHS. So they were allowed to carry on spending while they covertly reorganised the thing for the benefit of privatisation. And now we're into the final phase, part of which is not only a starvation of cash, actually, but if you talk to medical people, particularly GPs at the moment, you'll discover that they've got all kinds of new tasks, most of which don't make any sense and take up a lot of extra time. And there are really offensive things being put in. For example, they're now required to diagnose people of pre-senile dementia, and they get paid £55 every time they do that. I mean, how, that's going to wreck relationships with the community. So the NHS, like British Rail, the same thing was done with British Rail. It was basically starved of money and put through all kinds of ridiculous conditions for several years prior to privatisation, and the reason they do that is to make the privatisation look better. As to whether anyone has considered the impact upon the poor among our decision makers, well, that's difficult to say. It's not conventional in the city to be considering such matters. I've been studying the documentation of this privatisation quite carefully, and I can tell you that there is consideration of the impact upon the elderly in the original documentation about the whys and wherefores of how this is being done. And specifically, it's explained that a key target of the privatisation is the homes and savings of elderly people. Doesn't comment at all about their health or survival, I'm afraid.
Thanks very much. We've got 2 more questions. Lady at the back.